Hello, hello, hello. Happy. I always have to check. Happy Wednesday to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Coding Curricula with Chris. Developer resources done together, and yeah, happy 2023. I guess if you're just tuning in for the first time, thank you so much for being here. If you want to give us a follow, that would be awesome. Like, subscribe, any of those cool things helps me out as I'm going through this journey. And I'm gonna take a moment to be a little bit personal, I guess, and talk about why I did this. I had an interview this morning for a part-time gig helping out people transitioning from the military to, you know, software developer roles, and we had a big long laugh about just check the docs. You know, it's in the docs. We got it in the docs. It's available in the docs. And no matter what problem you face, whenever you're continuing to learn to be a developer or working through these problems, you're gonna hear that question. Did you check the docs? What do the docs have to say? And if you found a fringe use case, then that's an excellent way to get involved in, the developer community per se. Poke somebody and say, hey, look, I was working with this and I found out it's working like this, and that fringe use case, or maybe just it's not working appropriately. Finding friction, they call it in startups. And that's what we're doing here. We're working the docs and all of these free and open source resources and learning a lot along the way. I'm especially excited for what we get to start doing today. We've been working on the website a little bit every single session, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central, and I started spinning up the email server, and it should have gone right. My test passed. It was TDD development with an API. I don't know why it didn't, and I'll hack a little bit more on that tonight. But as soon as I have a server using Node server, Node Mailer, yeah. As soon as I have a server up that does Node Mailer and probably blogs, maybe we'll add that route too, because it can take some blogs, and I think it has some blogs already. Uh, but yeah, maybe email's a good start for this. Anyways, we'll have a contact page. We might polish up this about a little bit, and if we have the time, we'll remove this image and add these words "coding curricula" as an H1 element, and a P tag down here, because it looks good whenever it's like on a tablet, and maybe even more focused whenever it's in fully mobile, but it's not SEO friendly. Like, remember, our HTML elements are semantically archetyped to where not only for accessibility, but also so the robots can read them better, and they're more search engine compatible. We have a lesson today. Let's update this real quick while we're talking, or I guess we high level overview. Week one, intro to programming, Java up into JavaScript data types. Week two was themed into, began with more JavaScript and started with the basic HTML, CSS layout. And this week, from here on out, it's all about JavaScript. We'll be using our index.html and our CSS cascading style sheets often for styling, but we've been working through JS closures. I learned a lot about JS closures versus recursion, event-driven programming, a fun typing game. That's a classic for everybody's. Don't put it in your portfolio if you're applied for mid-level or senior level stuff. But it's a good, it's a good starter for everybody. About browsers is where we're at today, January 18th. About browsers. So let's get started. Go down here, open this tab up. I think we're on 12, about browsers. So what are we going to learn? Oh, before we get into that, let's update our logs and talk about some stuff that we want to do today, that we want to accomplish in the next 55 minutes to an hour. So let's do our logs first. January 18th, lesson 12, about browsers. And we're going to update logs, and then let's update the schedule, clean that up a little bit while we're at it. Then we have browser lecture, and then finally homepage changes. What did we say we want to do with the homepage? Something like we definitely want to fix that fave icon. I know what I was doing now. Hey, that looks nice. Fave icon fix. There's a website with some good docs that we I need to tweet them and thank them for the work that they do. So we'll do the fave icon and then remove the image and add H1 and P elements and possibly put a polish on the about page if we got the time. Else I say maybe even this up. We put one more line of code right here. Add, put that above any of it. So add a line under GitHub. Add a line of text. A line of text. So it's always like the 3 lines and equals out. Okay, and in here we want to clean this up a little bit. What did I not like about this? I want this broken. Instead of the dash right here, I want broken like that. And can we control D? Yes, we can. Select all of these dashes. Last one, and replace it with a break. Okay. Save, hit and push. So update logs and schedule outline. Hit and push. Toggle back to our .com. How'd we do? Yeah, that looks better. Could use a little bit of work. Maybe we'll bold these, bold the dates so it's even more legible, and maybe put the lesson in italics. We can do all that next time. Cool. That looks better. I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and get started on our lesson. We already got it pulled up on this, and they brought back the infographic. That's good. So what is happening when you type in a URL in an address bar in a browser? That's a good question. Somebody had me one time, I won't say name names, but for a technical interview, had me try to break all of this down in 6 minutes or less, I think he said. And I think it took me 10 minutes, 10 or 11 to do it justice. I didn't get hired. That's kind of part of what this practice is about, right? But there's a lot going on here. Whenever I first type in something like, google.com, it, even though it looks simple and easy, and that's very, very intentional, there's a lot happening, and we can start to dig in on that. And we've done this with our browser where we right click and we know that we download the entire page. We have our console where we can console log stuff, and see, we're being blocked trying to post or use tracking cookies. This is probably an ad, one of my browser extensions blocking some sort of cookie that's trying to share where I'm at, my location, and things like that. Sources of this page, everything that you see here, React Develop, these are all extensions. Well, not all extensions, but I know React Developer tools are extensions. Here, install hook. I was getting called out on this on our Lighthouse score, but performance insights, measure page load. How is that different than maybe a Lighthouse? I've never had this, or it's been a long time since I've had this all the way out. I use Lighthouse often. Cool. Google Statistics, it tells you where everything's coming in at. It's like a recording of the website loading. Very cool. Network. I've spent a lot of time on this, and this has helped. And getting comfortable with this right here is super, super helpful. Because if you clear it, and then you do a refresh, it'll give you an idea of everything that's happening on this exact one page. And all of the red stuff, why is it blocked? On a page this complicated that's doing AI testing administered by a robot, because that's what this is. Whenever you see these sorts of suggestions, they know where you're at, they know what you're into, and yeah, it's targeted advertising, yeah. And I guess I'm blocking some of this stuff, or hopefully it's inaccessible. Performance, you would have to start recording. Don't mess with that a whole lot at this stage in my career, or at least this niche. Memory, that either. Don't play with that. Application, on the other hand, we like to clear. We will play with local storage by the end of this course, and local storage and session storage are a part of the Odin course, if I'm not mistaken, that we'll be taking in the future for our next round. I believe, in February, March, something like that. And local storage and session storage are super important for your authentication and authorization. Leads into security and your Lighthouse score. Love this. Analyze the page load. Great for accessibility. The rest of these, Recorder, that's part of your tools, but Redux is something I downloaded, and AdBlock is something I downloaded. We'll see what happened. That was a what happens when you type in a URL is it works through all of those processes and all of those dev tools that we just described. And it starts with, for example, www.example.com is not where your site is hosted. Okay, that's only going to be like making your website's only one part of it. Hooking that website up to a single DNS is another part of it. And then it's a whole other thing to have like a Kubernetes cluster that are running, and all of them have to be pointed at the same DNS. It can be complicated because your DNS itself has a cache that works with the browser and operating systems and your router through your ISP, at which point it's prescribed the IP address. And this IP address can come from a lot of places. My favorite, virtual server. Hello, viewer. Thanks for tuning in. Say hi in the chat. I'm going to say hi. My favorite VPS is AWS Lightsail, and I had some real good experience with AWS Lightsail spinning up this node server in the past. Gave me a little trouble today. Hard to give it the full recommendation. But the IP address and your DNS are two very different things. I've owned a test IP, or a test DNS address, something like Rocket XYZ, for years, that I've been using for testing my different applications and my different lab experiments. And it's because something like that's only like 1 cent to renew per year, as opposed to something with value, which, if you want a misconception about the DNS, is, does it add value to your website? The answer is maybe. Okay, if your website is local, like we are doing business in Las Vegas, Nevada, or we are doing business in London, we are doing business in New York, and that's the only place we do business, then your DNS is absolutely valuable. It's absolutely worth a whole lot, because people in the region are going to turn to it. No matter what, it's a matter of localized SEO. They're going to look for that localized regional vendor, as opposed to some bloated, almost nameless corporate brand. Like, okay, I was looking for vacuum repair, right? I'm looking for vacuum repair, and the Google address, or the DNS is just like internationalvacuumrepair.com. Well, do they work in Chicago or Dallas or wherever you're at, right? But if you have an address that's like Tulsa vacuumrepair.com, then your domain has some value to your brand, but only if you're working highly locally. And a great example of this is carrot.com. Because what does Carrot do? They do real estate. Okay, what? Because Carrot is an national, if not international brand, all right? And they're going to do, they want to teach people how to do localized SEO. And so one of the first lessons that they teach is that my domain means something because I'm national, international. You know, they might call themselves galactic. They're probably very proud of their work, but you need to be local. You real estate agents, you need to be local and focused on this area because you're bound to that area as a real estate agent and somebody trying to flip properties. Anyways, that was a non-technical approach in Crash Course Masterclass on your DNS and why your domain may or may not be important. If you're just running it for experiments, or if it's a server that you don't want people necessarily have an easy time connecting to, make it something obscure. But user friendly is a different matter. Once you have this DNS and you initiate your TCP connection, which passes through your client, your SYN, your SYNAC, and your ACK. What is Wireshark? I think Wireshark is the tool that comes with Kali Linux. And if you don't know what Kali Linux is, it's a really cool distro of Linux that comes preloaded with a whole lot of awesome penetration testing tools, cybersecurity tools, and it's got Wireshark included on it right out of the box. And you can just start monitoring packets. And I saw an amazing speech by a guy who made tons and tons of money by playing games like World of Warcraft and these games that had economies and real world value to their goods that can be transacted with other players within servers and across other servers. And he would watch packets all day and look for a bug or look for a way to exploit the packet, you know, and get the amazing sword for 1 gold coin, or, you know, give 3 socks, get back a full set of armor by paying close attention to these packets and the potential flaws in them and how they were interacting. He made tons of money. But he described it as boring work. Like, he didn't get to play the games. He got to watch the games running and look through the code because his eyes were focused on the code. It's not like he was playing the game, but because you can record it while you're running Wireshark, it's recording all of the packets that work through. And all of this is the backbone of this is the HTTP request, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol request. And you have your HTTP methods in web development. No matter, at least in my experience, it doesn't, like, you can be working from your terminal, in which it's like maybe a curl, and of course Python doesn't use fetch. But whenever you're making this HTTP request, it's still using the same modes, which is, you know, there's get, HTTP methods, they call them, excuse me. Get, post, put, patch, and delete that create your CRUD operations that stand for create, read, update, and delete. All of them. So you go to example.com, it sends you to the right IP address. You begin your TCP conversation, and then from there, everything you're sent and everything you're receiving is all managed through HTTP requests. Okay, either a file is dumped at you and your browser displays it and renders it for you, or you're given the option to maybe interact with the website. Like, I can tweet, I can input something, hit send, and then it goes global, and then the algorithm, there's an algorithm behind the scenes that's responsible for placing things. Or it's as simple as a blog. I hit sent and it's registered. Or it can be as complicated as a banking system in which lots of transactions are being initiated and monitored all of the time, comma, but they need to be very secure. They need to be isolated and siloed off from one another. I need to have awesome access to my bank account all of the time through these HTTP requests while never being able to have access to your bank account without good permission, right? And that can be very difficult, but all of it's done through the same methods. And there are numerous ones. There are more than these, but these are the ones we need to focus on. So you start by a get, and anywhere you go in your browser, there's a get. A good example of this, let's go to JSON placeholder. which is an amazing free API. I need to do a shout out to them on Twitter too. And so it's saying right here, fetch then this asynchronous function. Fetch where though? And specifically, if we read this, it's a RESTful API point where JSON placeholder.typecode.com, that's your DNS, and there's an IP address behind this that reroutes it to a TCP and that starts sending packets. But where exactly am I going through this route? Okay, this is RESTful. I can call all of the to-dos, or I can call this one specific to-do. Let's start with this verbatim, this one specific to-do. Copy, paste, and boom. That's a GET request right there. Or I can get all of the to-dos. And then whenever we're programming as full stack web developers, we start adding to these each and every method. CRUD, create, read, update, and destroy. A little bit out of order. We start with read, okay? Where we can get all of the records, get one of the record, and then after that, we need to be able to add a record, right? You get your server response back. That was if it works right. If it works right, then boom, the data comes back to you. It looks good. What happens if it doesn't work so right? Then you get down here what's called your server responses, and they do a pretty good job of organizing these, but not by default. All right, as full stack web developers, error handling is an important part of it, where you're going to say, what kind of error am I getting? Like, we all know 404, it's just not found. And that happens often in like maintenance and updating and as things are being iterated upon. But what is a 100? Like informational message, like, hey, under construct. I've never used a 100 or seen a 100. I know 200s like success, 200 success, 300. What right here? Zoom in on the big version. 300 redirects. Okay, interesting. 400 client error, 500 server error. I've written a lot of 500 errors. That one's my favorite one to write because I feel like I'm working right there in the application layer and I know that I'm debugging at that point. But if you get back the server response and hopefully it's a 200 something success and everything came back just like this. If it's not, then it would return some error like maybe to-dos. I think it only goes to 200, so let's try 201, and it's nothing. So it knows, but what if I say I misspell to-dos? There's nothing there. Okay. Doesn't have it. Because it's saying, hey, our server's working. It's you, guy. Here's your empty object. And maybe if I was using, let's see what happens in the console. If it's console login. Bonded with the status of 404. Okay. So they just weren't public about it. But failure to load resources because it was not found. Like what about, similarly. But this was, it looks like this was intentionally error handled. Like they said, okay, any routes that come in greater than 200, say 404, while a misspelling, they didn't handle for every misspelling. This is more auto-generated. I see this more often whenever I haven't written them. So yeah. Good job, guys. Where are we at? So once you've, again, hopefully we've got a 200 success. And then that's whenever it transmits your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript. And I think we've done a good job so far of describing their relation of how that HTML is like the framework of your website, your CSS adds your color, size, shape, and your JavaScript's like the electricity that makes it work. And then there's this whole interaction that we've been talking about so far, and there's a tokenizer where you parse the HTML document, you parse your style sheet, you turn them into tokens, and then there's a CSS tree and your DOM tree that renders into your render tree, before an applied layout and any painting, your final paint. And that's registered in your Lighthouse score. And then now we have a web page inside the browser. Thank you, technology. Love to hear in the chat if you knew that it was that complicated, and now you can see why I had trouble making a video about it in like 6 minutes or less. Um, it's like where do you cut on that? I think it's all very important. That said, though, let's knock out our pre-lecture quiz. See how we do on the quiz. You can get browser extensions from Walmart. I'm sure they have a gift card for it. The browser extension store. I mean, yeah. Or the App Store. No, not the App Store, because apps are different than browser extensions. So let's say browser extension store. Cool. NPM stands for Node Package Manager. Yes, that's true. I like that one. Netscape Primary Mix. I don't know what that is per se, but big shout out to Netscape because they're the ones who push JavaScript into production, and we wouldn't be here working on JavaScript without Netscape. And Natural Processing Manager, no. Uh, but maybe that's a play on what they're doing, like with natural language processing. I don't know. Node Package Manager. Your browser can serve web pages both securely and insecurely. I want to be cynical and say false, because there really is no such thing as a bulletproof website. Unfortunately, like 0-day vulnerabilities can be found by just about any motivated enough party, and that's because of the immutable nature, or I'm sorry, the mutable nature of JavaScript, and how you can say something that's supposed to take a string and it pass in a whole function that returns your database. I've worked along guys that just terrified me with how quick they can slice up a website. That's cynical, but at this stage, right, in web development, the web development for beginners, they want you to be a bit idealistic, right? And try to tell you that yes, you can make it, and it's true. You absolutely can make a more secure website as opposed to a less secure website. Like the difference between locking your door and leaving open the window. So let's be cynical and say false. Yeah, no, they want you to be idealistic and say true. You can make a secure website, but a motivated enough individual or group of individuals on a website, I don't know. Maybe servers and infrastructure and architecture; those can be really, really well protected. Like we can sequester a database and we can just throw up a firewall and say no access and lock down the data. We can do that. And our servers, we can just take them down. But a front end website that everyone downloads and interacts with inputs, I don't see that ever being here. Anyways, so about the browser. In this lesson, we'll learn how to build a browser extension that'll work on Chrome, Firefox, and Edge browsers. That's pretty cool. I've never done that. So what exactly is a browser? It's software application that takes this JavaScript and pulls together a hypertext markup language and CSS to render web pages. A little history: first browser was called World Wide Web, created by Timothy Berners-Lee in 1990. People, yeah, he did this. Tim Berners-Lee, and then Netscape came along with JavaScript, and then Yahoo came along with a way to search engine through keywords, and then along came Google after that. Google was initially called Backbone, and then they moved away from these keyword search. Well, they still use it. They moved away from keyword search, though, in a lot of ways, about 12 years ago. And then they started doing this algorithmic searching and active A/B testing and targeted advertising. And browsers have the ability to cache content so that it doesn't have to be retrieved from the server every time. Now, that was originally very egalitarian because remember, this stuff was developed whenever we had dial up modems. But the cookie. The cookie has very much been co-opted by marketing and the big technology companies. And if you haven't had an opportunity to experience what it's like with targeted advertising using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those platforms, please do. You can put 10, $20 into the platform. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you will get lots of data on the whole world in return. It's pretty amazing. But of course, it's not all bad. We do. Look at me. I have extensions that make my life more, my browsing experience more pleasant, including blocking some of these cookies and things. A really website that you should probably bookmark whenever your browser is caniuse.com. Let's check can I use coding curriculum. I guess so. Or or build says I'm good, I guess. I think I passed. So let's get into browser extensions. That's what I want to learn about. What are your favorite browser extensions? I have React Tools. I have this eyedropper, Translate, a crypto wallet thing. I've got a few that I really like. To install extensions, it's pretty simple. I think I just searched for it like Chrome extensions, Chrome Web Store. Boom, here they are. MetaMask, very, very popular. Recommended for me. Look, it knows I've got kids with Roblox. Salesforce, I don't know why. Some other favorites. Extension Starter Kit. Anyways, before you start building, take a look at the process of building and deploying a browser extension. Well, each browser varies a bit how they manage a task. Similar, they're all kind of similar. In essence, you will build an extension with npm run build. That's pretty standard. We go from npm start to npm run build whenever we're making our production build. Navigate to the browser and settings and say more. Is it giving us instructions already? No, we're giving a high level overview. And press the button on top. Load unpacked. Click reload. Seems weird. Oh, because it's giving I think Mozilla different browser. So we're going. Let's see if we can skip this, because hopefully that's just an experimental thing. That never bodes well. Skip some of the documentation. In essence, here, see if we try it. Click this on the icon. Load. Developer. Up. Oh, this is how it loads them. Okay, that's how I would load an extension. Load unpacked or pack an extension. Primary, private key. So where I pick packs it for. Okay, cool. Good to know. I'm glad we didn't skip that. So we're going to make an extension, do the npm run build, point that at this folder, and then click reload to get the extension in there. So let's get started. You need an API key for what? Okay. Get API key. Okay. What a funnel. My API key. All right, I got my API key. Thank you. Mm, mm. Uh, wait. You need the code for your region. Where? Whoa. Okay. That'll be fun. Cool. Thank you, API. And corresponding electricity map. Awesome. We're going to be working with some APIs. And the starter code. So once this. Oh, okay. It's already built a bunch of this. All right. There's a starter code. And NPM, we already have that installed. Learn about package management. Take a minute to look through the code base. Once you have your API key and region code handy, store these somewhere in a note for the future. And let's build the HTML extension. So this has two views. Wait. So let's get starter code, right? Wants us to get starter code. And that's inside of our repo. Browser extension start. Browser extension start. Folder that we want to be in. LS. Do we have all these? Yeah. So 5. CD 5. Browser extension start. Then code there. So that we've opened up the browser extension. It's a little cleaner and a little to work with. What do we have? It's empty, more or less, so far. Okay, form area, result area, background, and some instructions. That's cool. And they helped us out a little bit. They got some styling in here too. Our source, form fields, listeners. Okay, they're holding our hands on this one. Good. So you will need to have npm installed. Now that we're in this directory, let's do npm install. That adds all of the extensions. Crowd. And then npm run build. Build the webpack. npm run build. And all of these commands. Oh, load option has not been set. Okay. Fine though. Just a warning. It's not in red. It didn't shut us down. That's good. But you can always find your commands right here. Scripts. I can do an npm run test, npm run watch, npm run build. So we've done that. To install on Edge. We don't want to do it on Edge. We want to do it here. Extensions right here. Browse. Desktop. For beginners. Browser extension. Start. This. Creating the following files. See it. Thought we did it right. Load unpacked. What about this? Load unpacked. Browser start. Oh, don't want that. Load unpacked. We want. There we go. Okay. And it's there. My carbon trigger. Welcome to your personal carbon trigger. Cool. Okay, so it gave us a framework to get an extension running pretty quick. And manifest. Did that very little, huh? What's in here to make that happen? Identified code here. The main. Oh, this is from the build. Okay. Cool. So now it works, and we know our extension's working. Get back to instructions. We close some. So now we need to add the form element. What it's wanting us to do. Where we go to form data and autocomplete on. Oh. Because right now, if you look at the extension, it doesn't have anything going on. Welcome to your personal carbon trigger. Add your information. So if we look at our index.html, we have a form area right here. They want us to add that. Let's build the extension. Right here, we're form class. And notice how you have your opening and closing form elements. Then a div, add your information, region name, and your API key. Pretty cool. Okay. Form area, make it prettier. Let me close this. Save. And then if we do npm run build again, you have to do this every time to reload it. And now what happens if it pops up? My carbon trigger. Okay. I guess we need to go to extensions again. Close that, huh? Settings, tools. Refresh. Reloaded. Now try. Oh. No? Okay, what about remove? Then load an unpacked extension. Okay. Now we. Huh. Where's the rest of the form? Save. LS. Move carbon trigger. Load unpacked. This. Select. Fresh. Reload. Okay, let's work through, I guess, the rest of the form is where it's created. Next, let's add the results area. It's telling us. Let's try to add the results area and see what happens. At this point, oh, make sure you install the package and dependencies for these files. Clear. Let's say npm install. Sure, that's there. npm run build. Try that one more time. And now, fresh. There's a way to just keep it open. Where'd it go? My carbon. Still no form area. But if we move it, extension loaded. Why aren't you updating? Do we need JavaScript to render you? Is that what's going on? Install. So this command will use npm, the node package manager, to install Webpack for your extension. You see the output of this process by looking in dish main. You see the coding is bundled. Build. You'll see a form neatly displayed. Why am I not seeing it here? Let's try really go off the rails here and try with Internet Explorer Edge like they're asking us to do. So let's say, hey, here, extension, manage. There we go. Load unpacked. Load unpacked, and that's going to be browser extension start select folder. Okay. Reload. Open this. Come on. Oh. My carbon trigger. Still no form. What gives? Here, okay. So now we're going to try something radical and do a rm rf. What is it? The dist directory. Sudo rm rf dist clear ls. We're going to delete this. Well, we can't delete that. Because where's it saving? Saving all the API, form field results, text. See, we haven't done any of that yet. Background, add list. Welcome to your. What happens if I just change some of this text here? Try that. Where we go here and welcome to your personal carbon trigger. We'll just say to the heck train extension. Save. I'm in start. Okay. And start calls Webpack. And Webpack do. All right, packs it all together. Start. The npm run build. Okay. I should say welcome to your heck train. That. Welcome to your personal carbon trigger. No, it didn't do anything. It didn't refresh. That. So maybe now we need to take a look at this and see what's happening. Entry point main.js while it's built in the index.js. Warning and configuration. The mode option has not been set. Webpack will fall to production. So let's say mode production. Format. All URL browser there. Mode not fixed, but fallback. Oh, development. I'll try running it again, see if that clears it up. No? Are you even listening? What happens if I take this and cut it and save? Then try npm run build again. Then it recompiles everything. Okay? So now we remove that, move, then load and unpack this one. Go here, go to extension, my carbon trigger. It didn't make any changes, even in the minified code. So is it not calling? Development. And it's still giving me this error. 3-point main. Creating your main, yes. All. What happens with watch? npm run watch. Want it in here where you say mode development. I pull that out of. I misspelled development. Maybe that was part of it. What happens now? Yes, no. Run build. Well, no. I'm gonna delete this unified code file. Now we run build. We move this. I'm just gonna remove it. I'm gonna close this browser so it refreshes. Then we're gonna try that again with Internet Explorer. Go back to extensions. Manage extension. Unpacked one. Shuffle. Manage. Show me some changes. Ah! Well, Webpack, what are you doing? Carby Juice Tracker. I'm at a loss. I don't know why it's not recompiling. And even after I make changes to the code, it refuses to compile. Check this thing. Ooh, I have an inspector. So what it's rendering, it's not getting this at all. It hasn't updated. There's dev tools that are away. So what's happening in my console? I guess because it's like a little web page. X, my carbon trigger. Welcome to your personal carbon trigger change any of that. Main, downloaded, styles.css. Where are you pulling from? I thought I was in the right directory. Am I not in the right directory? Start. Start. Let's just try start. Doesn't like that. I have to be in this. Load. Good. Update. And now we play with it some more. No updates. What if we do something radical and say main.js like this? Calls that. Then we run npm, run build. Oh. Yeah, maybe. What if we reload here? Nope. What if we remove it? Try adding it one more time. I'm only going to subject us to a few more minutes of this. Getting obscene. Reload, load. So the problem, for some reason, is it's not wanting to. Whenever we run npm run build, then we're running it through Webpack. And what Webpack will do is it will put together all of our assets, our CSS, our JavaScript, our index HTML, our styles, everything. It puts it all together, and then then it serves it up in a single JavaScript file in a minified fashion. This is minified JavaScript. Computers read this very efficiently, people not so much. But for whatever reason, any changes that are happening to this index.html are not being packed in as they should be. And it's like we missed permissions, scripts, background, JSS. The default pop-up index.html, it's calling that. Maybe it's missing the dot. Maybe it's missing it like that. No, it doesn't like that. Maybe. Save. Try npm run. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because then where did it get it from before? It's like it built it once, and it doesn't want to recompile. Ugh, okay. Well, I'm frustrated with my personal carbon trigger. I got the API key. I got the API key, and I signed up for this other thing. But I guess I'm going to have to reach out to them in the on the repo in GitHub and say, hey, we've tried this and we documented it. Here's a whole video of what was going on, and we can't get it to recompile whenever we visit that. But regardless, this is interesting, because this is exactly what we're here to do. I think we might have found a flaw in the documentation in these lessons. And here's the thing: if we're experiencing trouble with this, that means so many other learners are probably experiencing trouble with this as well. And so it's super important that we bring awareness to it and find a way to address the issue and make it so that this application works. Because we didn't put all the time into it for it to fail on us just because of some weird environmental variable. But this should work. I don't understand why it's not. I'm going to play with this immediately after our lesson, and I have a whole wish list of things that we need to get done with the homepage now, because we wrestled with this for so long. But we will find answers to what's going on with why this won't recompile and bring together the things that we want it to, like it should. Because, yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. Sorry that we kind of got stuck here, but this is what web development is. And honestly, after you've worked at a problem for 10, 15, 20 minutes, it's very important that you get up, you take a little walk, you kiss the ones that you love, you eat something healthy, and then then you come back to the keyboard and get right back on the horse, which is what we will be doing. I'm going to have this debugged. That way, next time you tune in tomorrow's session, we can come right out the gates and finish that lesson before moving onward and upward. Because regardless, I think we're stuck at a standstill if we have 3 lessons of building this API extension, and we can't get the form to update now. We got to troubleshoot this and figure out what's going on. So happy Wednesday! Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.